All right, YouTube, we are live. It's pre-show time. Yes, it's pre-show time. Today, or tonight, this evening, we have, depending where you're tuning in from, we have Tarek Fatah coming on the show. Podcast number 48 with Tarek Fatah. Very interesting guy. Really looking forward to this. I've been wanting to speak with Tarek for quite some time. It's just scheduling for myself hasn't really worked out, and then it's been hard to connect. But now is the time. You guys can follow him at Tarek Fatah on Twitter. He's quite popular on Twitter. He's got 673,000 followers. He's a columnist at the Toronto Sun. He is author of two books. I think it's two books in total. One entitled The Jew Is Not My Enemy, which came out in 2010, and also The Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State, and that came out in 2008. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to speaking with Tarek. We're going to talk about things like Black Lives Matter, race issues, questions like is Trump a racist, Sharia law. We'll get into the God stuff a little bit. Tarek is a secular Muslim, so that'll be really interesting to delve into that to see what type of things Tarek engages in as a secular Muslim. I need to turn this off. So yeah, let me know when you get into the chat. Say hello. For this pre-show, I was thinking I would open up our. Maybe I'll do that after. I think post-show we'll have a bit of a discussion on StreamYard. Or maybe I'll open it right now. Let's do it. Okay, I'll put this in the chat. How's everyone doing? A new week has begun. Join me on StreamYard to video chat. There's the StreamYard link if you're interested. We still got about an hour and 10 minutes until the show starts, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time of sharing this link around. I am live. Keep it like that. Cool. If you're just getting into the room, say hello. What up, what up? I was thinking of turning on, except I don't have enough cameras. Oh yeah, because I'm using that for that. Never mind. Never mind the salt. I just need to open up this window. Okay, cool. Cool. Actually, I'll keep that closed for now. I'm going to share that in Pangburn. How are you guys doing? Say hello. Join me in StreamYard if you guys feel like it. Oh, we are live. All right, we are live. Okay. So we've hit that. Already hit the Insta. Okay, that's good. Cool, cool. Cool, cool. Jason Noble, what up? Jason Noble says, hey, bud. Ah, did I blow your guys' ear? What up, what up? Sweet. Okay, now I need to go over to the community. Oh, man. Dang it. I need this. Copy. Join me on StreamYard, guys, if you want to do a little bit of chatting before the show. This is just the pre-show. I'm just sharing everything around. Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome. Awesome Blossom. They are awesome. All right. All right. Coolio, coolio. Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna get. Okay, I can turn on the Facebook Live now, I think. Or am I gonna do that? Maz, welcome, welcome, says, love from India. Thank you for coming so early, Maz. We still got about an hour until the show. John Henry, welcome to the chat. John Henry says, I have a theory racism is a plot against America. Hey, if either of you guys want to jump in with me in StreamYard right now, you can. I'm going to give you guys the link. All you have to do is it turns on your camera or just your audio. You guys can jump in with me. Join me here for the pre-show chat. Yeah. Yeah. Stan Ulk says, Tarek is quite disingenuous in my opinion and pushes a lot of divisional politics. He attacked a Canadian YouTuber outside a rally with his cane for disagreeing with him. Ah, interesting. I'll pin that one for Tarek. That's quite the allegation. Is it true? We'll find out today. I'm going to call you guys out. Who has the stones? Who's got the stones to come on and chat with me right now? We could chat about anything. This is the pre-show. Pre-show is open to anything. Maybe we will try to keep it within the topical realms of what Trek and I will be discussing. John Henry says it's by the elites to implement feudalism ideology. Well, if you're going to make that claim that that racism is a plot against America, or I think you typed American, you have to demonstrate it, right? Bold claim. Stan Alt says you can see it on video. Rants Derek was the YouTuber and Rebel News got it on video. Huh, interesting. I also have a video entitled Tarek Fatah manhandled at Urdu Fest in Delhi. We'll have to take a look at that before the show. Take me to church, I'm wrestling like a dog in the side of the Epic, epic. Hit the like button when you get into the room on the stream. Zambezi Kid says, how long before the main chat starts? We are exactly 1 hour away from having our guest.
The Indophile activist was manhandled by goons at an...
This just started playing. That's all right. We got Maz. I'm going to add myself to stream on StreamYard. And we also got Maz as well. How's it going, Maz?
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
I'm just going to pull up pull up this screen. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we can see you on the stream. Yeah. So where are you coming in from? Did you say you're listening from India?
Yeah, I am. I saw it on Tarek's Twitter feed, and I just right away I went to YouTube and searched your name, and then switched on the notification, and I just came back from my run, and it was live, so I just
nice, cool.
Best thing ever.
How was the run?
It was great.
Yeah.
Kind of empty,
Yeah.
Like we are in a lockdown right now, so before the cops come in, so I just go and finish my run and come back.
Yeah.
Because.
So you guys are in lockdown still?
Yeah.
How has the whole COVID-19 experience been for you?
I've been doing a lot of traveling this year since the starting of it, and I was like at the beginning of it, I was at the top of the country, right up like near Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, just before the lockdown started, I was lucky enough to come back to my hometown, which is like in the middle of India.
Oh, cool.
So it was quite a journey. Like right after I reached over my place, and it went completely crazy, and people were stuck. They were trying to get to their homes, and they couldn't. It was very painful to see it on the news. Yeah. Some people were like walking or cycling around like maybe more than 1,000 miles just to reach their home. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Crazy.
So what brought you to follow Tarek Fatah?
I saw one of his talks on YouTube.
Yep.
Then immediately I got the books on which the talk was about.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was The Jew Is Not My Enemy.
Right. That was his second book, I believe. Right.
Yeah. And then I got the book, and then I got the first book. It was. I think it was about Islam and Pakistan. I think the first thing in the book that is like how the prime minister was assassinated.
Oh, okay.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of Tarek's writing? Are you a fan?
I'm a fan. So I follow all his writings that he does for Toronto Sun.
Yep.
I think he's great, and I'm critical. Sometimes I don't agree with him, but I trust with whatever he's puts out on the internet, or like on YouTube.
What are some topics you tend to disagree with him on?
Like, why is he still a Muslim?
So are you secular?
I'm not.
You're not?
I'm not.
You're a Muslim or
no, I'm not a Muslim. I'm a Hindu, and I'm an atheist.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a secular Hindu.
Yeah.
I know.
So
I
you
actually
can say
know.
that.
I know a lot of like secular Hindus, or at least
Uh-huh.
ones that don't subscribe to the belief in an actual literal God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
I
you?
will believe when I, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Go on.
Did you used to believe in a literal God? Because you obviously identify as an atheist now. But yeah, go ahead.
See, oh, like I, w- from the place I belong to,
Yep.
um, you can be both a atheist and a Hindu.
Yep.
Like in Islam, yeah, in Islam they won't come for you if you don't believe in it.
Right.
You know.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Like
so
that's one of my
hmm.
questions for Tarek today is what is the penalty for apostasy? Even and how does that change once you become a cultural Islamist or a cultural Muslim as opposed to a
Yeah.
non like an actual God fearing Muslim? Like how does that change
Hmm.
for you? That'll be one of my questions for Tarek
Yeah.
for sure.
And like how does it affects his relationship with his family. I know, like Pakistanis and Indians, uh, even if we try to be away from our families,
Yep.
try to be as much independent as we can get, but families play a very important role in the way we carry ourselves.
Mm. Yep.
So I wanted to know it as a fan. I wanted to know, like, how does his belief affects his relationship with his I think he has an elder brother, I guess. um
Okay.
family back in Pakistan. Yeah. and
So
and I have seen his daughter. She's very supportive of whatever he stands for, and I really uh, I think sometime in the future I have something like that, what he has with his daughter,
right.
uh, and with his wife also, which he talks about on TV and shows.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking too much.
No, no, no. That's good. I like. That's why I set up this StreamYard thing so I can hear more from fans and people that have a.
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of you guys have a lot to say, and that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this will be my first talk with Tarek, and I think I'm interested in doing some live events eventually with him as soon as. Some live
Okay.
discussions as soon as we're able to do that. I don't know how long it's going to take for that realm to recover
Hmm.
because of COVID-19, but yeah. So how about you? Like, if you're so in, and I guess in Hinduism, you said that it's okay if you're not a literal believer in God, but you
Hmm.
still carry the culture. Um, does that ever come into conflict with the Muslim community where you live?
uh See, the place where I am from, it's like, I think 2 years ago, I think Al Qaeda operatives were caught,
Yeah.
and from a place, like, it was a literal ghetto kind of place. I don't want to take the name of the place because I don't want any bad name for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think it's pretty. We are okay with it, but if you dig deeper into their beliefs, there will be a pushback that
Mm.
you can find in any place of in the world.
Yeah.
um, so whether it's Christians or Muslims, it makes no difference. But
Mm.
yeah, on the surface, it's very normal. But yeah,
Right.
if you poke your nose into their business, they're gonna, there will be a pushback. Like,
Right. If
so
anyone
yeah.
wants to join Maz and myself in this conversation, this pre-show conversation, we will have our podcast guest Tarek Fatah on in about 50 minutes. But if anyone wants to
Mhm.
join us, all you have to do is click in the link that I'm putting in the comment section of this chat on YouTube, and you can jump in the conversation with us. It's as easy as clicking, and
Right.
you don't even need to have a video either. Okay, cool. Um, and what we're going to get into to a lot of what's going on with race, the race conversation in the U.S. as well tonight with Tarek. What is your take on what's going on with the riots and the protesting and this idea of systemic racism?
Uh, See, I was um, hurt pretty bad when I saw those videos
Yeah,
coming up. And we live in a world with this social media, and if even if you switch off your cell phone, you can see screens up in your living room with
yeah,
people watching it, and you're not, if you want to shut yourself out from all that thing, you can't even do that.
right.
That's a luxury we don't have anymore.
Yeah,
So I
be
was
able to
pretty,
unplug is very, very difficult.
yeah. So I was pretty sad because coming from India, I think we are more close to the Americans when it comes to the values we stand for, like when it comes to democracy and equality. Then we can. I'm more closer to an American than I'm closer to a Pakistani or a Bangladeshi
Right.
or a Nepali. So um, if I come from that posture, like it was very disheartening to see what was happening,
Hmm.
and it's not like uh, you do a mistake, you don't repeat it. That's how you get better at it. But if you see it happen over and over again, there's a deep rooted problem that we are not talking about or we are not dealing with.
Yeah, and I agree there is a problem. Where I disagree is when all of the, the social justice radicals want to cry racism and blame
No,
racism for this. And I
yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah.
and anytime someone claims that, I always just say, like, where's your evidence of
Mm,
racism in this issue? Because when I analyze what's going on in the United States, what I find is that
mm,
there are cultural practices and cultural aspects being downloaded into children, that they're growing up with these certain attitudes towards police officers, for instance, these certain attitudes
mm,
towards, if someone, speaks badly about me, I have a right to bash them or shoot them, or things like this. Like, there are
mm.
certain cultural elements, and it's not
Yeah,
exclusive to black communities or white communities or brown communities.
yeah.
There are pockets of these cultural issues in any kind of racial demographic. So,
And one of those cop was Asian, a Chinese, I think, of Chinese origin. So I don't.
which is so uninteresting to me. Like, it seems like in the United States with the media, because it gets more
Mm,
clicks, it gets more attention, because it's so polarized politically right now, that everyone's trying to
mm,
click and grab something that furthers their side's perspective on the race
mm,
issue. So they put in the
mm.
headline, black man or white man kills black man, or white man. And it's like, race is
Yeah.
just so uninteresting to me that, like, why do people even mention it? And then you find yourself, the extreme social justice community, they find themselves, like, almost, they can't help it but bring up someone's race. And then I'm like,
Mm,
you
mm,
realize that you're engaging in some form of racism here, because, like, for instance, the other day we were having a group chat, and there happened to be no black man in the room, and we were talking about race issues, and then someone comments in
okay.
the comment section, it would this conversation would be a lot better if there was a black man in the room. And then I was like,
How does that?
it's
How
like,
does that?
literally, the color of his skin, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the content of his character. This is something Martin Luther King
Mm,
Jr. was. This is exactly what he was talking about. So,
yeah.
yeah, it baffles me that we still have people being radical and loud about this, but I do think that the majority of humanity doesn't have
Yeah.
these radical ideas of about race, and it's the fringe, really loud minority that does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to this. I forgot, but it was like number one rule of deception. Accuse your opponent of what you do and they will be busy getting, you know, explaining themselves.
Uh,
So most of the propaganda that is built around it is something like that.
mm,
So I understand if a black American is talking about racism which he has seen, I
yeah.
understand.
Or
But
experienced.
if
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but if an Arab is talking about it on a Qatari based news channel, I think I need to call you bullshit.
Mm. Yeah, like for me, it's like sure, I'm not going to make the claim that racisms or acts based on race, which is considered racist, don't
Mm,
exist. I mean, there are all different levels of this. Like, if a white girl says, "I would never suck a black dick," it's
mm,
like that is a racism. But if she says, "I will only suck black dick," it's kind of put on a different pedestal. It's still a racism, but it's
yeah,
it's more based on like sexual preference at that point. So there are a lot of double standards when it comes to racisms, um,
mm,
and I think actual pure to the bone racists, I think those are
mm,
very hard to find in the West. I think most people just want their freedoms to express what they're thinking about things, and I think that this idea that there's all of these KKK members and white supremacists running around just is unfounded, and there's just no
yeah,
evidence for it. Um, but yeah, and I think a lot of people take anyone who's trying to add any bit of rationality to the race conversation, they automatically get
mm,
thrown into the right wing nut job uh,
yeah,
arena because they're trying to reason what's actually going on, and they're not out
yeah,
there holding a sign, hitting the cop car, and assaulting
yeah.
people. So
It was really bad to see like these Antifa kids going and burning and rioting and looting stores.
yeah,
I think they are taking back this if you really want to do your part against racism, I think what you did, I think you took the baton, like, you know, few years back. If somebody wants to come up and fight against racism,
yeah,
they will have they will have this pictures and videos to show, like, you know, if you
yeah.
do a protest, this is what it will turn into if we let you protest.
Yeah. Well,
So
and the thing is that like and this is why I waged ideological war on Antifa, because Antifa
mm,
members think that violence is a good way to crush bad
mm,
ideas. When it's you don't kill bad
yeah,
ideas that way.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
and it's like when you start with that fundamental belief and then you bring that out
Yeah.
into the public square as a people and you
Hmm.
suspect someone of being a fascist, because even if someone was spouting fascist ideology out in the street, they think,
Mm,
how could you not want to punch that person? Like their moral foundation is all shook, and it's not computing properly. It's like you shouldn't feel the need to be violent towards someone if they're saying something that uh,
yeah.
you disagree with. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's
So
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of this Australian guy. He's of Indian origin. I think his name is Neil Kolatkar or something like that. You
Mm?
must have like heard about him. He's a stand-up comedian.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he has like really good content around these topics, which went viral, by the way.
Mm.
And I think you should check it out. And if possible, you can get him on your
Yeah.
podcast.
What's his name? Neil.
Let me just find out. It's Neil. He's from Australia,
Yeah.
but he's of Indian origin.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
It's not
yeah.
Druckmann, is it? No.
No, no, no.
No.
Neel Kolhatkar. Kolhatkar.
Okay, I found him. Found him. Cool. I'm gonna give him a
Yeah.
follow. He's an Aussie
Yeah, yeah,
actor,
yeah.
comedian, writer, Instagram. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's the
will.
one.
Um,
I think whatever we were talking about, like, while I was talking to you, that's him. I could only think about him and Gad Saad
yeah,
and Ruben maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
I know God.
like,
Uh, I've met him a few times. He's come to my
oh, great.
events. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of
And
his, and
actually,
I
actually, I've
think,
had God on the podcast.
oh really,
Yeah.
I forgot to check that out.
No, it's all good.
But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Um, just double checking a few links here. And what do you
So
do? What
so
do you do for work?
so I'm a entrepreneurial catalyst. I design strategies for startups and corporates,
Oh, okay.
business strategies.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Nice.
Yeah,
And
and
that,
and right now, when everything's going to shit, I'm a headhunter.
yeah,
I'm finding employees for corporates and helping people who lost their jobs to, make a switch from one place to the other in a least painful way,
cool.
so that everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, okay, okay, that's good. That's good. Just sharing a few things. Do you often have live chats with people, conversations about things like this?
No, I don't.
No. Yeah, it's good.
But
I
this
I
this
hope
was great.
I hope you subscribe to the channel because
Y- Yeah, I'm already subscribed.
okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Have
Yeah.
you been subscribed for quite some time or just today?
No, no. Like, I saw Tarek's
Oh yeah, right. You
tweet
said that.
about this show, and that's how I got to know about
Cool.
this
Yeah.
channel.
So we do something I'm calling the Pangburn town hall, where I get
Hmm.
a lot of listeners and viewers on this same platform here, and we're able to have like a 6-person conversation, and those are a
Got
lot
it.
of fun. But I'm gonna start doing them at least 2 times a week. So yeah, I
Yeah,
hope you're available for them.
yeah, sure. It would be lovely.
Cool.
In this lockdown, what I have been doing is, like, I have given out my Skype account name,
Yeah.
and I'm calling in if you need a book read to you, like
Yeah.
old school. You just hit me up, and we'll think about the timing, because
Mm.
sometimes people call from other part of the globe and they want some books that they need, like, someone reads for them, so I do that.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Who
so
are
so
some of
yeah.
your favorite intellectuals?
uh I like this guy called Swami Vivekanand. He's a, like, Indian saint, and America made him very famous.
Swami?
Vivekanand.
Swa
Vivek.
Vivek. See if I can
Nand.
find him. You would think he would be on Twitter.
No, he.
No?
No, no, no. He's long gone.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And there's this guy called
Okay,
Richard
here we go.
Slavin. He's from Chicago, I guess, but his other name is Radhanath Swami.
Hmm.
So I
I'm
follow
gonna
him, and I.
Vikananda. I'm gonna look
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
him more.
Vivek. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he got famous because he went to America, and he gave a speech. And for us, he's like, the Martin Luther speech that
Yeah,
everyone quotes. So it's like that, like when he said, the brothers and sisters of America. So it's like
yeah.
our Martin Luther King speech.
Cool, very cool. It
So,
says, yeah, in 1893 he did a speech in Chicago where he essentially introduced Hinduism to the Western world. That's
uh-huh.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any dangerous elements of Hinduism that you think are very very much in there to serve a very early age purpose? like anything like?
Uh, I don't think so. The most dangerous Hinduism group that I can find out is it's called, they are Bajrang Dal, and they
Hmm.
beat up couples who are not married to each other on Valentine's Day. So that's their version of 9/11. That's the worst they can do.
Yeah,
Okay.
beat up couples. Wow.
Yeah. So
So and they
so
find some way to justify this in the doctrine.
yeah, yeah. That's what they try to do, but they are not getting much traction. So,
Right. And
and
you,
some of them are like good people. Like,
yeah,
I I have hung out with some of them, and most of the time I have hung out with them is about when I'm there out there for animal rights.
right.
Like, if there's an injured animal on the street, most probably a cow,
Hmm.
and you need to get them to a animal shelter or a hospital that they can be taken care of.
Hmm.
Those are the guys you call, and they will come. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so 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 you have to balance it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, you just don't want to be hanging around them during Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Yeah, I will keep that in mind.
Awesome. What other topics are you interested in?
Uh, I recently read this book called Coolie Lines.
Hmm.
It's from an it was written in America. All great things. I think I have a like all great things that I follow originated from American soil, I guess. So it was written by Indian guy, and he found out about these slaves that were taken from Indian subcontinent, present day India and Bangladesh, maybe Pakistan, and they were taken to work on cotton fields and sugarcane fields by the Dutch to the Java and Sumatra islands.
Okay.
So so what the British did to India was like taught the Indians English and trained them well so that they can work as low paying jobs, like cops at the lower levels, clerks to run the administration.
Yeah.
But the Dutch, they didn't do that. They said, you learn, you teach your next generation in your own language. So that way you won't compete with us and ask for equality.
Ah.
So 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 those routes from Indian subcontinent to Java and Sumatra islands, they were known as coolie lines because they were called coolies.
Mm.
So
Okay, I've heard that term
and
before.
yeah, yeah. So these people who were Dutch slaves, their next generation, they have immigrated to present day Netherlands, and
Hmm.
I kind of met a few of them when I was there.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
And what was that
so
experience like?
it was great. Like, they you switch into this conversation, you listen to what they are talking, and they will be like very fluent in Dutch, and the moment they would turn and talk to me, they will talk to me in a native Bihari language, which is very similar to Hindi, if you know what Hindi sounds like.
Yeah.
So so that was that it I was kind of caught by surprise. So
Mm.
so that was the thing.
We got
So
a
I've
quite.
been reading about them, their origins and how it all started.
Mm.
So it's our version of slavery that nobody talks about, or hasn't been documented on that level, like the American form of slavery, or the European form of slavery that people talk about
Right.
in the Caribbean, or in the US.
Yeah, it's interesting when people actually look into more cultures that aren't always talked about and so popularized, they realize that
Hmm.
almost every lineage going back has, every race essentially has dealt with
Yeah.
hundreds of years of slavery at some point in their history.
Hmm.
And you and some of it, like you said, is well documented, and some not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I met this girl. Uh, I met her in France, and she looked very African.
Yeah.
But the moment she opened her mouth, French came out,
Yeah.
and and I tried to talk to her, and the moment she saw me, fluent Hindi came out. So I was like, okay, like you look African, but you're in France, and how is this happening? Then she told me she's from the Caribbeans,
Yeah.
and the part which was half of French ruled and half of British ruled. So at her place, half of the people I hijacked.
Yeah. Sorry.
How's it
Continue,
going?
Maz. What up, Jack?
How you doing?
Good. Good. Yeah. So
I
we're
almost left this one alone.
What's that?
I almost left this one alone.
Couldn't help it, could you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we got Tarek Fatah coming on today. Very interesting guy. We're going to be talking about, is Trump a racist? We're going to be talking about Sharia law.
Oh,
We're going to be talking about the Quran a little bit. I want to talk about COVID-19.
I'd like my mind expanded a little bit more on the Quran. I only heard so much about it, so that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah. It's, I've looked into it, and every time I cite something, someone who's like a hardcore Islamist will be like, "Oh, that was translated improperly." So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But Tarek is a secular Muslim, which is interesting. So
Okay.
that's going to be interesting. How's your day going, Jack?
It's actually going fantastic. Just got a car, so that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, nice. What did you get?
It's a 2007 Chevy Cobalt.
That's gonna
It's
that's gonna
it works.
yeah, good. That's gonna really
definitely
reel
works.
in the mates for you.
Oh,
Roll
totally.
down the windows.
Or provide me a way to the gym.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, we got about a half hour. There was a question that came in. We could jump on this. So completely ordinary says at the Pangburn, what is your opinion, perspective on capital punishment / the death penalty? What do you guys think?
Um, it's actually it's really hard to say that to talk about this one because a lot of it to me gets swayed by the ethos, the emotional part of the argument, because it's kind of subjective to say, or it's kind of objective to say, like, this guy just went out and murdered 30 people, period. He's not healthy to society. If he says he's going to do it again,
Right.
you either lock him up or we kill him, and the only reason we'd kill him is for the retribution of the people that died. So it's actually a small version in a way of like the Roman Colosseum. Like it's on a very small scale in that way. But I do believe specifically that people that are 100% like through after a court of law and on due process and everything, is that are convicted of rape, child molestation, murder in the first degree, cold blood.
Yeah.
Is that all that said, they should most likely be executed because there's a huge chance that they gain a massive amount of support and make bail. Is that there's all of these things that can happen to those dangerous people, and for the pedophiles and stuff like that, I think they should either get the death penalty or chemical castration. So, but it's a lot of an emotional argument for me on it, unfortunately, because the only way it makes sense to have the death penalty happen is for the retribution of those who were wronged by what happened. Otherwise, we could just imprison the guy for forever and he would just be, miserable for the rest of his life, which is arguably as good or as bad as death,
Right. Gotcha. What do you think, Maz?
And personally, I think they shouldn't take away the capital punishment, but I have been working with I was helping a guy with his thesis for his PhD, and he was studying policing in around a province in India. So with whatever interaction I had with cops and officers who were directly, like, we don't meet these guys, but these are people who are putting their lives to get them and arrest them and getting them back to the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
So and whatever they said, most of them said, we are not getting enough capital punishment for these murderers and rapists, preferably. You
Right.
know, you can hang a terrorist, but in my country, if it's like, rarest of rare, then you get hanged. We don't have variety of systems that in the US or else where they have it. So there's that, where cops are saying we are not getting enough of it. And then I see people who are wrongfully imprisoned, and they are getting out of jail after 15 years, 18 years, 20 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out they were wrongfully imprisoned, and they were framed. And it just, I'm just keeping myself, I'm being emotional.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm keeping myself in their shoes. And what if instead of 15 years I was executed just like that, and I didn't do it, and I was just framed.
Right.
So what then? So the whole idea of capital punishment, kind of,
Yeah.
personally,
For me,
Now, I only have
Yeah.
I have an
I hope
anecdotal
that
story.
answered the question.
yeah, yeah. I think
Okay.
it sounds like. Go ahead, Jack.
I have an anecdotal story. Somebody that I knew is that not gonna disclose it. Somebody that I knew was sitting in a courtroom one day, and they were watching a court proceeding for somebody in the courtroom with them that was going on a pedophile charge.
Mm-hmm.
It was a parole hearing, so he was there all sitting there, and this guy was apparently, from what the story said, he was massive. He's like 6'5", 6'6". This is a big dude, and he went before the judge, and they were like, the not the judge, the committee, and they were like, do you feel like you should be let go? And he looked up at them, and this giant, like, psychopathic man for a second looked like he had clarity in his eyes, according to the person I know. And he just looked at them and he said, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I know I'll do it again. I can't help it. If I get out, I'm going to do it again, and there's nothing that's going to stop me if you let me leave.
Right.
And the fucked up part about it is after a lengthy parole session, he actually did get parole. And it didn't make any sense to anybody. It's an anecdotal story, so it's not exactly concrete, but it is something that I've heard about from secondhand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, here's my take on this. My moral foundation is based on maximizing well-being, maximizing the well-being of everyone. So this includes pedophiles, rapists, murderers, and this includes taking into consideration their experience versus the law as well. So obviously we need to uphold law and order, or else it's just going to be chaos, right? And then when people break the law, including rape, murder, have sex with children, things like this, we ought to have. I just heard a bling blong. We ought to have reasonable laws and punishments for those people who do commit that. Now, when I look at my maximizing well-being moral foundation, I look at someone who's committed, let's say, the worst of atrocities. Let's say killed 40 children and raped them and ate them, cut them up, ate them. Like everything you could imagine, how horrible, and tortured children and things like this. For me, maximizing the well-being for that person and the rest of humanity, because I think there is psychological benefit that comes from showing mercy to people who have carried out deterministic things in their life. showing mercy to people, and showing that we have this greater understanding of what's going on biologically, that these choices aren't made. They're actually just, this person happened to be born into this body that carried this out. Now, that doesn't take away putting responsibility on people, because we obviously have to live as though free will does exist. Like, it's this weird paradox, right? So my thing is that when we do have control of someone, when we contain the danger, I don't see any reasonable justification as to why we should terminate that person's life when we could learn so much from them, including things like, and not just a conversation of like, okay, this person claims that they were abused sexually when they were young, and this led them to be sexually violent and all these things. Not just that, but the getting so deep, like getting plethora, let's just say a constant stream of books written on the psychology of this person, interview after interview after interview. I'm just going to bring in Ruben Safer-Mang quickly. I'm going to add Ruben to the stream quickly. We got about 20 minutes, guys, but I'm just going to finish this thought.
Hey, Ruben.
So I think that the amount of information that we can get from a human being, and plus, I don't think it does anything really for anyone's well-being, even though some people may say, okay, this rapist that raped and killed my child is now dead. And then there's this initial knee-jerk reaction to feel good that that person is now dead. But I think in the end, when we have seen the clinical psychological literature on how these people view that death, in the end, it doesn't make anything better. So it's,
I think everything with that, as long as whoever the organization or the people or the setup that they have for that is willing to take responsibility if those people do that again after going through the rehabilitation, as long as they're willing to accept the responsibility of that, I think that would be okay. Because I do believe in the case of, I know what I said again, anecdotal.
Yeah.
But there are some people that have, psychotic illnesses that they literally just can't help.
Yeah, well, and I think for those people still, it does humanity a benefit, even from a psychological perspective, that we're not putting our own to death. We would rather have them contained and study them and allow them to even though they have committed horrible crimes, allow them to experience whatever levels of well-being they can for the rest of their life. Let's get Ruben in quickly, and then I'm going to shut this down as we'll get the podcast going in a little bit. Hey, how's it going, Ruben? Thanks for joining. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, let us know what you're thinking.
So usually the question that I hear in terms of whether the death penalty is moral or not, or whether we should keep it is, can I rephrase?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think usually the question that people use as to whether capital punishment should be legal or not is whether the death penalty is moral. But when you look at it, there are actually lots of cases of when they put the wrong person on death row due to either a false witness or somebody who wasn't in the right state of mind, so they didn't see the person correctly, et cetera, et cetera.
Basically, what you're saying is that the legal system is not going to be perfect.
Yeah, and because of that, it basically becomes a question of whether the benefits of killing the person is worth the risk of putting an innocent person on death row. And in that case, I would say, no, it's not, because I don't think the benefits that we get out of killing that person is worth possibly getting the wrong person.
I'm just going to, okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Ruben. I do agree with you. Ryan H. says, he's digging at me, says, he just regurgitating Sam Harris, quote, allow us to contain and study them, quote, people with psychotic illness aren't lab rats. That's a big fat straw man by Ryan H. in the chat. Look at all that straw man happening. I just had to mention that. But yeah, Ruben, I tend to feel the same as you in that the cost benefit analysis on this, like the optics for a social species, that optics is so important to us, and we see it. It's in our face. It's in the media. Anytime someone's like on trial, and whether they're deciding whether to put them to death or to give them 25 to life or whatever, the going to that 25 or going to that death penalty stage, it's like I want someone to put together a logical argument and show me the actual scientific data as to how that benefits humanity on the whole, also including each individual who is experiencing this, including the person that has to push the button to have this person killed, including all of the other people that are experiencing this trial, and how that trial even affects the well-being of a society.
Exactly. Yeah. Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, there have been studies that have actually proven that it interrupts the like the mental health or the closure. Like, it doesn't actually really bring closure necessarily all the time to the families or friends of the victims of the person who was put on death row. And also, can I respond to the comment that you read aloud?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I don't think that he was trying to say that we should experiment on them or use them as lab rats. But I think instead he just meant we can get more out of what they've done by, instead of just looking at them and condemning them and like killing them, we can get more out of what they've done by instead learning from them.
Yeah, but also my argument is also still caring about the well-being of this human being who has found themselves in this circumstance due to what we would call terrible life choices colloquially, but now we know scientifically it's like this is chemical processes playing out in the environment that they're born into. Guys, we should let's go on for another 5 minutes. Maz, what do you think of what Ruben had to say?
I agree with her, but I would like to add to one point that what benefit does it brings to the society if you kill that person? Is it discouraging other people who are thinking about doing the same? Because most things with rape and murder, it's like the psychology that plays in their mind is, I can get away with it.
I think
And
I
even
don't
if we
just Maz, I just want to take you to task on that. I actually think the data shows the opposite of that. If you look at the statistical data on the trends of how rapes and murders, they still continue to happen, and it's like even within the family circles of family members who have been given the death penalty for committing certain crimes, certain capital crimes in certain parts of the United States, let's say, it doesn't deter even those family members from committing the same crimes in the future.
Yeah, that's what I was
are you
at.
making
Like,
that point? Yeah.
It's not deteriorating any kind of they're not discouraging anyone to not to repeat those same things. So what's the point?
Yeah.
After all,
Captain Jack, what do you think?
So I understand in the kind of in the sense it's like, well, this person disregarded the well-being of like, X amount of people's lives or X amount of children, but like you were saying, whatever example you gave earlier, you know what I mean? And I see I see your point where it's like, well, even though he's been doing this evil act, which we'll agree is, or I hope we'd agree was evil, is that let's see, doing something negative to him, like killing him, is again going along with the same thing that he's doing, which is disregarding the well-being of so many people. In this case, we're disregarding the well-being of one person, but I do believe after a person becomes a certain level of dangerous or a certain level of unstable, that there's not, I mean, this is all very few cases and far and in between, not really, it's not exactly common, but the people that refuse help, won't get help, and don't attempt rehabilitation,
Sure.
cause problems everywhere they go. Like,
Yeah.
that happens fairly, not a lot, but a decent amount in the prison system.
And the point you're making, Jack, is exactly why I think we need deeper research into the human condition and into the mind and understanding the pleasure drive and all of this stuff in order to better present what the pleasure drive of the psychopaths, say, need to see and hear in order for them to at least give us the information we need for the future of humanity in order to detect these things in early children and try to get ahead with like really good psychological detecting algorithms of some kind, really get ahead of the steps and say, oh, okay, we just, the child just, found this baby squirrel and squeezed its head, right? Just to see what it would feel like to squeeze its head. It's like and just some of these indicators that we know are indications that they may be harmful to others as they grow older. But what else is there that we can detect? And what else is there neurologically? Like will we get to the point where we will work with psychopaths that have been caught or have committed crimes, where we will work with them and allow them to be part of the fix to this thing, as opposed to being a just another body put on display because we think that this in some way is deterring crime. And I just think it's not. I just don't think the evidence shows us that killing this dog because it bit somebody is really doing the other dogs any giving them any kind of reflection on what they ought to not be
like
doing.
I was saying, like I was saying earlier, I think like 90% of the arguments that come for the death penalty and stuff like that all are emotional.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's very difficult to try and make that point without it coming back to like, well, the only reason that you would do it is for the retribution of
Amanda A in the chat with an awesome question. Just 2 words: simulation punishment. Put them in a simulation that is just so punishing. but I think again, it's like you can torture, you can do all this kind of punishment to this one prisoner, and then you think in your mind, it's like, yeah, that'll make him think twice. It's like it's a very old school, like unfounded type of thinking. But I gotta let you guys go. We're gonna get ready for the podcast here. Thank you to Ruben. Thank you to Jack, Captain Jack. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thanks so much,
Maz, thank you very much. Okay, Maz, go ahead.
If you, I have a little favor to ask. If you can ask him, when is his book "Hindu is Not My Enemy" is coming out?
When is his book Hindu is not his enemy?
Is not my not my enemy. Yeah.
Hindu
He's
is
working on it.
not
So
my enemy. When is it coming out? Okay, coming out, and this question is from Maz. Is from your biggest super fan, Maz from India. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to log you guys out for now. If you guys want to jump in and join with the post show, we will be doing a post show discussion like this as well.
All right.
And we'll talk about the podcast and stuff. But see you guys for now. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank
Later,
you.
man. Thank you.
Thanks. That was awesome. Great panel, great pre-show panel. I'm going to fill up my water, and I'll probably turn on my lights again. I thought I would have more light in here, but... Great conversation. Thank you, guys. Uday came into the chat and says, he had a question for Maz. Maz, if you're in the chat, feel free to answer. Says at Pangburn, can you ask Maz about his opinion of Kashmiri Hindu exodus/genocide in 1990? An event that is hushed by mainstream media. I'm curious to hear Maz's opinion. Maz, if you're still listening, please do chime in on that. Carol Peter has a question. I think this is for Tarek. Will America be replaced to Islamerica by 2030? I doubt it. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We are about 7 minutes from our conversation with Tarek Fatah. I know a lot of you will be catching this later. Monday isn't necessarily the best day for the live stream, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to close this. Don't need that window open. Don't need that window open. I definitely don't need that window open. No, it's not porn. Come on. Grow up. Oh, wait. Am I talking to myself again? If you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. Oh, okay, it's back. Why? I don't want this internet to mess me up. Okay. All right, guys, we have about 5 minutes until we will be bringing on Mr. Tarek Fatah. I am super excited. This is going to be awesome. And it looks like we are already connected and the connection's looking pretty good. So we will wait 5 minutes until everyone gets in the room. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of music, I think. Or you know what? I think I'm going to do a little bit of info before we get into the conversation, because you guys know I just like to dive in and not waste any time. Tarek Fatah, columnist at the Toronto Sun, author of 2 books, The Jew is Not My Enemy. That's a good title, as Shakespeare would say, and, quote, The Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State. And that book came out in 2008. The Jew is Not My Enemy came out in 2010. You guys can follow Tarek at Tarek Fatah on Twitter. He's got a huge following on Twitter. So you guys become another follower. Ruben Saf Mang says, thanks for having me on. Thanks for coming on. That was a great conversation, guys. I'm going to get my other window ready here. I'm going to hide this one. I'll turn that off. There we go. Sweet. And just going to pull up my notes here. There's been a lot going on in the United States, guys. Whew. There's just too much to talk about, to be honest. We might as well bring in the pre-show music. Uday says, at Pangburn, Tarek Fatah is a very courageous person. He has the guts to call a spade a spade. That is my kind of person, honestly. We need more people in the intellectual community like that, and I'm sick and tired of these people who kind of carve out these audience demographics that don't allow them to speak freely and how they're actually feeling about what's going on in the world, and they're needing to soften their language, use different words. Oh, I can't say that word on my podcast. I don't see how some of these intellectuals function being under that kind of a cage when they're trying to think openly and maybe add some nuance to their thinking when they're always stumbling over the fact that they might have people say, oh, he used the word I don't like, unsubscribe. It's like people really need to stop shaping their audiences in that form. And it looks like Tarek doesn't suffer from that, which is pretty awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on for sure. There's nothing worse than having on a guest who's just like sitting there afraid to talk about certain topics. All right, we're at the 2-minute mark, so I'm going to play, I think, our intro tune that we always play. And if I was a very, very, very professional man, I would have had this queued up already. But, it's me. Thank you guys for joining. This is awesome. This is going to be fun. Where is my tune? If you guys haven't checked it out yet, if you guys are new to the channel, check out the conversation between Dillahunty and D'Souza. That was the third event I produced in New York. Snuck in there right before coronavirus hit, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about Corona today. But let's. Advertisement is starting. Hey, I'm not sponsored by them. All right. You guys can listen to this track I composed on the Pangburn channel. This is our intro track. Welcome to the Pangburn podcast. This is the Pangburn podcast. Welcome to episode number 48, and I am going to unveil our guest for you all, Mr. Tarek Fatah. How's it going, my friend?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Great.
Yeah, looking good. I'm going to kind of center you on my screen a little bit here because sometimes I have to adjust. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's no shortness of topics to be talking about with what's going on in the world right now. I'm just going to start off with this question. What pisses you off most about humanity?
Oh my God, where should I start? From the Far East, my favorite is when the Filipinos cannot pronounce Philippines. Why do they spell it with P? You ask, where you come from? I'm from Philippines. Oh, please. And by the way, do you know what the capital city means?
What?
Manila? It's the Islamic word min Allah, from God. So before the Spanish came, the so-called Moros, which the West thought is the guys who went into, the Moroccans who went into Spain.
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, these are the same guys bending over bending over forward. Is that an expression? That's why it's called Manila, but nobody knows that. But anyway, that's up to the Philippines. Then you can go to Hong Kong, and goddamn China.
Yeah. Yeah, where do we begin? You could write probably 14 books on the things that piss you off about humanity. Let's jump into this right away. Obviously, like, the race topic in conversation seems to be never ending in the United States. There's always, every time there's someone that gets killed, that's or let's just say in this case with George Floyd gets murdered by a police officer, if you want to call it murder. We get this flare up of the race debate happening again, and then everything becomes about race. Like when people are having conversations, they're like, "Are you black or are you white? Are you Hispanic? Are you?" Why do you think the socially, or let's say the social extremists, are so obsessed with race?
Because it's very easy. You don't have to read books to know that you are, for example, me, I'm from the Indian subcontinent. I don't have to be a PhD to know my mother tongue is Punjabi. So after 1990, I mean, when the Berlin Wall fell and the communist East collapsed, you will notice something quite phenomenal. That's it's only upper middle class rich kids who go on sabbaticals to be millionaire Marxists. And so the left or any quest for social justice doesn't come from working class people. There used to be, for example, in Canada where I am, we knew where the left would win, where there were auto plants or steel mill or something.
Right.
Now they win where the richest upper middle class folks who go around bizarre language, I have to, I'm too old to learn some of the pronouns. I mean,
Right.
so it's dumb.
Yeah.
So it's easy. It's very easy to be dumb. And the dumbest thing is to be who you are for no fault of yours. So your parents had sex, you were born. One was Norwegian, the other was, say, from the Congo. And now you're exotic because you didn't do anything to be that.
Yeah.
Right? So the Italians are no longer Italians. They can't be Italians. So they have to be associated with some tourist spot, for example. So Sicilian,
Right.
instead of saying, "Oh, I'm paid by the mafia," say, "No, it's Sicilian." Once the Arabs used to govern us. Oh, it's right there between Malta. It never snows in Malta. Oh, get the fuck off my head. Talk about, but it's the Spanish flu's 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
And this pandemic is going to bring up certain issues where the folks, this is something that I've noticed, all of the people who were called essential workers had minimum wage.
Right.
All the assholes who were non-essentials could flip a burger on a weekend at a vacation home and become a billionaire.
Yeah.
And they were the non-essential.
Right.
This is not about left or right. It is about stealing the miracle of the United States, or what it has created, that it attracts more people. Simple law of gravity, simple law of everyone wishes to migrate to the United States. So obviously, it's not an oppressive place for people to desire to go, "Oh, I just am so tired of getting beaten up in Pakistan. I want to go to America to get beaten up even more." No, that's not how we work. We get to a place where we think there is a possibility of growth, not the ideal, but the United States is a unique phenomena in human history. A country that is based on not inherited race or religion, but on written text. Far ahead of its time. You can fault the founding fathers for many things. I think that the rule of stupidity that's going on, some of my friends might even say George Washington should be expelled from America, because he had slaves. The fact that all the Arab countries had slaves and still do. Oh, but they're so exotic. You should try that hamama halala sandwich. Oh my God. I got a friend who went to Cairo. Oh my God, the Sphinx.
It's almost like it's almost like an argument from authority fallacy meets the naturalistic fallacy. It's like they meet
You
together
made
and
it.
they create a new.
You just qualified to join them. You said something that just went over my head. Boom!
Yeah, and it.
But it's true.
Yeah,
What you said is true.
but there is this fallacy that when people and it probably you could call it racism and the I use a sexual reference all the time, like like the white chick who says I would never give a blowjob to a black man, and then that's considered to be a racist statement. People will go after her and say, "Well, that's racist. Like, what's the difference?"
on.
And then and then she will. Then the next white girl will say, "I will only ever give a blowjob to a black man." And then for some reason, that's thought of like, "Wow, she's edgy. She's exotic. Like, she's kind of on that edge of like, yeah, that's cool. I wish I could be that." Like,
She's so brilliant and so bright. She should be walking on the moon with Neil Armstrong. Why did he leave her behind? All these bright scientists that are walking down. One thing, excuse me, I'm just an immigrant to North America. All of a sudden, I can't understand why every man that I see on the street is wearing comfortable clothes, shorts that go down to the knees, and every woman who is a feminist has to wear the most uncomfortable attire that is basically intended to attract or trigger sexual desire.
yeah.
But the boyfriend is so nonchalant about it. No problem. One day they're going to wear a burqa, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and the guys are just sitting there saying, "Wear whatever you want, honey. Whatever you pick, as long as it's that."
Why are you so uncomfortable? Why are there no wardrobe malfunctions with Clint Eastwood, for example? I can't imagine. Oh, Clint Eastwood, Gregory Peck had a wardrobe malfunction. No, they know how to dress up. And the feminists say, "Oh, but I have to expose myself to the max." Well, for heaven's sake, wear something that's comfortable. That's what it is. But they would answer that I intend to take on the hijab. And the other super feminists would say, "Oh, honey, that's not enough. You should try the niqab. It takes the carbon dioxide out and sends in the ozone, builds the ozone layer right above your nose."
And when you look down the menu, the amount of virtue return on going after that one is
my God,
so much more. That's like, how can you resist?
It's like the cyber currency that came up. One could, if only one could cash in on that.
Yeah. Well, I think people do cash in on it, or at least they try to. I actually I should bring this up because I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing at my own joke, but this morning I wake up to this article that says it was a L'Oreal article. L'Oreal to remove the word whitening from its products. And
it goes back to India.
Yeah.
No, whitening teeth is no longer right. You're going to come to a stage where you will have yellow teeth, and that will be the cool thing.
Yeah.
And people will be giving bad breath to each other and saying, "Oh my God, he's so woke."
Yeah.
He just put his bad odor straight in my mouth, and I had no choice but to breathe it in. It was yellow, dirty, and I love it because I'm the proletariat.
Right. And then a comedian will make some kind of joke about yellow being Asian, and then they will be thrown and burnt at the stake. I can see it now.
Then we take it green, I guess.
Yeah. So and then I said social extremism presents new, or I should do this in this voice. Social extremism presents new and exciting marketing opportunities to see who can be the most irrational. Next, brown toilet paper.
Really?
No more white toilet paper, brown toilet paper.
But it could be reusable.
You know what?
My God.
Who would know? Who would know?
let's put on Greta. I'm sure she'll come up with brown toilet paper. Oh Greta, thou art so wise. Tell us, what do we?
Okay,
Lord have
so
mercy.
we have things being said like from what I can see to be quite obvious in my interpretation of what's going on. I see cultural issues in certain pockets of different, let's say, cultural situations in the United States, and people are trying to turn those cultural issues and call them systemic racism. Like systemic racism is the thing that's creating these, let's say, violent males in the United States. How do you respond when you hear someone talk about systemic racism?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. There is no denying there is systemic racism, but the fact remains it is more entrenched in China and the Arab world than it would ever come to the United States.
Like, yeah,
I'll give you an example of
okay,
Indian-based anti-black racism. A West Indian, a Caribbean guy who was a captain in the Indian cricket league, he was called the equivalent of the N word by his teammates. And they told him that it means stallion. And he didn't know. And he came up just
that's
2
absurd.
weeks ago. He said, a whole year they were addressing me as Kalia. Kalia is the N word
Right.
in Hindi. And
So you could say, I got to point this out. You
yeah,
could say it in Hindi, but you can't
yeah,
say the actual word in
you
English.
can't, it is being used, sir, right now.
Yeah.
Among the most racist, anti-black utterances are coming from not white people, but Indian, Arab, and Chinese. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm surrounded. My son-in-law is white. My grandmother was French. My aunt is Italian.
Yeah.
I've got cousins who speak Italian and Punjabi. And among racism that I have noticed, blatant, systemic, entrenched in the psychosis, are two groups, the Arabs and the Indians. You will never see an Indian at an Black Lives Matter. If you go, they will.
Yeah.
The only thing the Indian does is go for his MBA and a wife who is fair and lovely, which is that cream that is applied day after day on Indian girls to make them marriageable. Because if you're darker skinned, nobody's going to marry you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that is systemic racism under any way, because the system itself says if you're dark skinned, you piece of, Greta's
Yeah.
toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know, but if you wash that toilet paper with this cream in that washing machine, out comes white toilet paper.
White. Yeah.
That's equivalent to a green card in the United States of America. I'm American. And if you notice, what's her name? The UN ambassador, the Indian woman from Nikki Haley.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She's neither Nikki nor is she Haley. The comet has bypassed her. Her name is Nimrata Randhawa. But that would sound so bad.
Yeah.
Brzezinski. Oh my God. I'd die to get a Brzezinski as an but Randhawa, to hell with it. And look at the Louisiana governor. He converted twice to different Christianity. First, he became evangelical. Then the guy said, no, sir, wrong state. We got the Catholics running it. I said, no problem. I'll convert again.
Right.
This issue of trying to be white is worse than a white person just being who he or she is. You don't control your skin color.
Right.
But if I'm trying to emulate a different identity, whether I'm a Pakistani trying to be an Arab or an Indian trying to be, Nikki Haley, that is where systemic racism comes on. So if it exists, it's not the monopoly of white people. White people adopt more black kids than any other people on earth.
So yeah, so what you gave example, like the soccer example, that was an example definitely of racism, and
Yes.
it's plain as day. We can look at the example and we can document it. When people say that there is systemic racism still in the United States, I ask, why do you think that? And then what people do is they take a race-based statistic, say that says this is how many black males are incarcerated in the United States versus white males. And then I say, okay, let's assume that this race-based statistic is true. And then my question after that is, why do you think it's true? And then these people, these radicals are just, they put their hands up and commit the argument from ignorance fallacy and say racism, of course, it's self-evident. But then I say, well, where is the evidence of racism in the United States from at a systemic level? And I don't see it.
Okay, here's where I differ. Any people uprooted from their existence over a period of 300 years go into a psychological exploitation and demeaning of their identities, where not a single one of them has their own name. I'll give you another example of this, an equivalent, maybe people will understand. If for 1,000 years India was invaded by Turks who came to rule them as predestined authority, you today have a community that is, first of all, Indians have never invaded any other country ever in 5,000 years. But after 1,000 years of slavery, literally by invaders being celebrated by their own textbooks as heroes, they have become docile and are never part of the civil rights movement or part of Bernie Sanders movement, or right or left. I mean, you have to choose. You could be ideologically conservative, and that should drive you. You should, if you are, say, right of center or left of center, you have plenty of options available. When someone is insecure with their identity, their reaction over any subject is based on what they've inherited through their history from family to family to family. Imagine none of the American blacks know any other name than the name that is given to them by the white man. That is what is systemic. So it is within the hands of the African American or black community to fight not just anti-racism, but self-development as well. They go hand in hand. If up to the 1940s, the African family unit was the strongest, they were the lowest crime.
Yeah.
What happened in the 50 years that we've seen that brought the dissolution of the family to such a degree that every time I watch any of these shows, where these shows that people see once they retired, 10, it starts at around 11, and I'm not your father type of
Right. Yeah.
you will see that people affected, the black community affected by poverty or lack of opportunity, the mothers come out, the fathers rarely ever do. So I'm maybe sounding very conservative or from an American perspective, but I strongly believe as a left-wing person that you can't have revolutions, even the Bolshevik revolution, by just dreaming about it and saying, let's have a parade and call it the Red Revolution. Revolutions and changing of societies are a tough thing. They don't happen if the subject community is not part of the solution, rather than being the way Islamists in America say, oh, it's Islamophobia, and trying to be victims. Now you have a situation where the Islamists are joining and appropriating The Black Lives
You
Movement.
see the
Yeah, the people who hate black people, the
yeah.
word for black people in Islamic language is slave. Ya abdi. That's how they are addressed. They're treated like, I mean, the slavery didn't end in Arabia till 1964, 65. It's part of the essence of our religion that slavery is allowed. Just treat them very well. The point is that we haven't had a Martin Luther
Right.
in our faith in the Arab world, or in India we've had Gandhi, but we shot him. We
Right.
said, hey, hey, you don't look too sexy. Now that we've got independence,
Yeah.
poor guy got shot after he did
Yeah.
everything.
Well, what I would call, so you use the term self-development
Yes.
as a focus. What I tend to call that, and I think it means generally the same thing, is cultural development, kind of more the macro approach to that, because I think there are some cultural things that could maybe come from the education system, including how parents are educating their kids about like the simple things like relationships, like how police officers are viewed, for instance, in some homes. Like, I don't think it's helpful for young people, and I have a good collection of people that live in the United States who grew up in more impoverished areas, that grew up with the fuck the police attitude, and that if and that if someone found out in your community that a police officer was rough with you and you didn't fight back, that you would be considered a pussy or a coward or something like that. I think there are some cultural issues that need to be addressed, but the question that I struggle with most is the application of applying, say, something like skepticism as a foundation for children. Like, I think skepticism, if we could give all cultures in the United States a solid foundation in skepticism and start from there, I feel like it cures people of most of their irrationality. Maybe not all of it, because we all stumble upon irrationality all the time, but I feel like skepticism's the answer. What do you think about that?
I think without a decent economic base, something like what we have in Canada, you cannot have the expectations which you rightly identified. If your entire focus is how to hold on to what little you have and preserve it, and have no incentive to the employer to, we have in Canada a system called employment equity, where employers were asked to reflect the community in which they operate. I think at the federal level, and it was brought in, by the way, by the Conservatives. Brian Mulroney introduced it. In Ontario, it was introduced by left of center Premier Bob Rae, and he had to pay a price for it. But generally, in Toronto, I live in an area which has the lowest income and the highest income living within a square mile. So the social, because of public transportation, almost everyone takes public transportation. There's a lot of cycling in Toronto. The place where people see each other as part of the family cannot come with such great economic disparity that the United States have. That Mr. What's his name, the guy who ate up East Asia, Soros, George Soros. He in the Asian crisis, people in Thailand and Indonesia were eating leaves while he made hundreds of millions of dollars by betting, short selling on something. No guy on the street, even my friends don't know what is short selling. They're engineers or physicians or teachers or whatever. I don't know what is short selling till I watch a movie made about it on Netflix. But if someone can bet on your misery to make money, the bitterness cannot be cleansed away by either a Catholic priest or a social worker or even a Mother Teresa. Elimination of abject poverty should be the starting base of any society. Otherwise, we're back to 200 years ago when there were no borders, people could go anywhere.
Yeah.
The nation state, United States of America, became the first nation state without a king, without, you know what? Before I forget it, I'm 70, so I lose my.
It's all good.
Yeah, you know what Ho Chi Minh, in his first speech, what were his first words? It was the American Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Nobody in the United States ever covered that or even talked as to why someone who was a diehard communist guerrilla fighter who had seen the Second World War looked upon the United States as a place that inspired him for freedom. You know, there are so many instances where I can see, but the United States that allows its ordinary citizen as an immigrant to come in, work their way up, takes a generation to fix in, needs to look at its below poverty African American community with a sense that if we don't get them in the same level at, you know, outside abject poverty or outside opportunity, the United States itself will fail.
Yeah.
And you have today facing two enemies, and which I think most Americans are oblivious of. One is China, and the other is Islam. Both, or Islamism, if that is a better word. You have today major Muslim Brotherhood organizations who have infiltrated every part of American society, and you are unaware of that. And I'm saying both Republican and Democrat. You know, Bernie Sanders' campaign manager was a Pakistani fellow.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot to get to that position where maybe well-meaning but naive person like what's the name? I just slipped my. The Democrat who stepped down.
Yeah. Oh, Bernie. Yeah.
Bernie Sanders. He won't know, and he went to an Islamic event, but didn't go to the APAC event and said, I will not go there. And he went to people who want Sharia in the United States. So it means the guy is surrounded by the Ilham Umars of the squad is controlling him, not the sense of what he wishes for American working class people to be, but he's finally trapped into that congresswoman who married her brother and still has the audacity to then flirt with her her chief of staff and then marry her. So it just tell me, what is Minneapolis doing?
Right. Yeah. So one thing about the financial disparity, I fear that, you know, when Obama was in office, he did throw a lot of money, let's say, at the south side of Chicago, because it was one of his big goals was to kind of
but that doesn't work. Throwing money doesn't work.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I feel like when people hear financial disparity, they think, yeah, here comes the payday. I'm excited for my payday. Here it comes.
I'm saying you need to incentivize the private sector to trigger incentives where even the employer or the employee doesn't know. I mean, this you can have affirmative action in education, and that has uplifted and created academics in the African American community that one did not have. A whole lot of people who benefited. But if you make it easy to sustain at a given level where you know that you really don't have to bring the best in you, the most creative stuff that God has given you to bring it to the benefit of others. If that is lost, then that is a huge investment loss, because every child born can bring out a miracle, can be an Einstein, can be, Neil Armstrong, can be anyone, can be JFK, can be LBJ. There are amazing people born in the United States from all the right and the left. Ralph Nader was an American, was I think of Lebanese background, and so was the Apple founder. He too was a Syrian. So they don't even fit the Arab stereotype.
Right.
They gave the best because the United States had the ability to allow anyone to irrigate and harvest a crop that was their own genius. There was no obstacle to them. Now, the obstacle doesn't necessarily have to be one placed in front of you. The obstacle can also be the disincentive to move ahead. In the private sector engaging with this and their destiny being the growth of the United States, there is no progress possible if we are caught up in this amazing, ignorant, arrogant parading of people. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Donald Trump's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Like, oh my God, I had to do a PhD to learn that slogan. That's your best. That's your best. I can give you 10 reasons why Trump should not be the president. But for heaven's sake, discuss policy. Oh, he doesn't know how to talk on TV. Okay, he doesn't. So don't vote against him. But surely the economy is doing okay till, China somehow directed all the viruses to go to Italy, but not Beijing, which confounds me, Every virus knew I have to go from Wuhan to Tehran because it rhymes. Wuhan to Tehran. And then they went to Turin.
The thought bubbles in the conspiratorial thinker are going like this right now.
No, I'm
creating...
not saying, I'm asking a question. Why didn't it go to Beijing?
Yeah.
Like, they can build a hospital in 10 days. I know that. They can do, because the Chinese have an advantage. They eliminated religion and superstition from their entire community, from the entire nation. So compare that to India, where every time, whatever religion you are, you have to take 10 steps to do something.
Yeah.
The Chinese just invade your country,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming. And they are the most dangerous threat, whereas India is America's closest ally. But you can't see the connections.
So
why is
you brought up the big bad orange man. Is Trump a racist?
No, I don't. No, I don't think he knows what is a racist. I think he's a businessman who is applying business strategy, but he should have written instead of The Art of the Deal, he should have written a book called The Art of the Tweet. That could have saved him a lot of trouble. But it just shows the guy is right there. He's the most transparent American president. I won't vote for him, by the way, for many reasons, because it is so easy to demolish the Americans and America if Trump is there. It's not what Trump does, but it's how easy it has become for some buffoon somewhere in South Yemen to scream out that I will kill this guy. I mean, why can't he give up tweeting? I swear. But anyway, that's up to him.
Yeah, and I think he, it looks like it's all signs are pointing to 4 more years of the Donald in the office. So
I think so, and a lot of my colleagues feel no, but I get thousands of emails every day, really, and tweets that just drain my head. And I wrote a column the other day about why one of our left-wing leaders in Canada should apologize to a francophone member of parliament who he addressed as racist. Now, the left-wing leader, the NDP leader, is a Sikh, bright young man with a turban. So, because he is a visible minority, because he wears a turban, he had the license to call a white man racist,
Right.
which is his privilege.
Mm.
And I suggested he should apologize because you don't know what that other man is.
Yeah.
You can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't know people. How could I call them racist?
Yeah.
I've never even had a cup of coffee with them. That should be used in very, very rare occasions.
I mean, it's like racist used to mean like rapist. Like it was like kind of on that, but now it's like racist just means someone who has an idea outside of the norm.
No, anyone white is now to be called a racist, and there is an entire tribe of white people who, unless they are called racist, they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like they're passing through Pearlie's Gate, and getting "Thou shalt enter."
Yeah. Well, and this I'm calling it the religion of social extremism. Like I think a new religion has been created.
No. You are giving too much credit to dim-witted, brainless people.
Well, I mean, I see a lot of parallels between dim-witted, brainless people and religion. So that's where.
That is it. If I can believe that a horse can fly.
Yeah.
And be serious about it.
Yeah.
And I can't even make a joke about it.
Yeah.
Suppose I suggested Jerusalem is a city close to the Jews. Jerusalem, Jews? So no, I'm the Arab. I invaded Jerusalem, therefore it is for Muslims. I'm serious. I've had this argument. Palestinians should have a state, but Jerusalem, for heaven's sake, King David, you yourself admit that we invaded it in the year 645. So before that, there are 3,000 years. No. Okay, if not the Jews, the Christians.
Yeah.
Oh, but he too was a Jew. No. It's for us, Allahu Akbar. You can't deal with someone who is not fighting for a Palestinian state, but is fighting the Crusades in this day and age. It's bizarre. And then you are judged. Oh, you must be paid by the Israelis. Oh, no, it's the Indians. It is just terrible because there is no reading.
Yeah.
I think the best thing you should do in having ask anyone, what is the last book you read and what are you reading today? They say we don't read books, we read slogans.
Yeah.
People are living off slogans.
Common.
Yeah.
They're living off headline slogans, the quick fix. It's like the fast food of literature, where you're not getting much nutrition out of it. You're just getting that quick pop in your mouth. And
the number of people who are not reading newspapers.
Yeah.
It's not whether you like the New York Times or you don't, or the LA Times or Washington Times or Washington Post, but you've got to read something in the morning to start your day so your brain gets stimulated. No, they're watching how many likes I got on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I think the radicalness of mainstream, from like a political standpoint of mainstream media, has really scared people away from taking in anything now. Like they're afraid that they're going to open open up a piece of paper and they're going to see their favorite ideologue being trashed, and for some reason they don't have the stones to be able to deal with that and to read through the criticism or anything like that. So then you get, the hardcore Trump supporters can't stand to even see someone post anything that is a criticism of Trump. And then you get the extremists who are calling Trump a pedophile now because he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein at some time. And then you get, you just get all the radicalization, I think, is what is scaring people. But it's like, it's not a reasonable justification to, be scared from these things and then just shut down your whole cognition. Like people ought to, take those things with a grain of salt and continue to read and discover. I think that's a good thing.
I from what they hear, it should not trigger anger. It should trigger curiosity. If America has to maintain its position as the number one source of ideas, from the Wright brothers to the treatment of cancer, to submarines, to you name it. I mean, the automobile was invented in Germany, but it became a car in the United States. We've progressed at every level. And being in Canada, we've had the good fortune of inheriting English, French, and American, having all that crystallized. So we look at these three countries and we feel that the easiest place to have creative ideas is the USA. And nobody's stopping you from doing anything. However, political correctness, if that is even a word, is going to kill original creative thought, is going to help the KKK hide where it can, if you are against white supremacy. There are so many things that are taking place. And what America doesn't realize is that the gateway for the Muslim Brotherhood to infiltrate is now wide open, because you're having a civil war.
Right. Yeah.
One, the left, the liberal, the conservative, are at heads with each other, and you're divided by race. Who sneaks in on both sides? It's ideal opportunity.
Right. Would you describe yourself as a secular Muslim then?
Yeah, that would be more appropriate. I describe being a Muslim. The reason I am is that I am fascinated with the concept of not surrendering yourself to any human authority except the Creator, which is the essence of Islam. But I'm cognizant of the fact that we as Muslims have created more bloodshed and more burning of books than perhaps any other people. And if we follow Muhammad, as these radicals say, I think Islam died with him, because for 18 hours his body was lying there in the Arabian heat of May, while everyone else was fighting each other to be his successor. And the successor was determined on the basis of race and tribe.
Yeah.
And this is within hours of his death. The first war in Islam was the war on apostasy. Within 1 year of Muhammad dying, he says, that tribe is an apostate. Kill the buggers.
Right. I was going to say that the penalty for apostasy is death, correct?
Yes.
And
I can
doesn't that make you an apostate?
Well, I could, lecture them on Islam till the cows came home.
Yeah.
But that would make me a Hindu. Just mention of but the point is, there is only one book, and that too, after 300 copies of that book were burned. And it is collated, not in chronological order, but because the Arabs didn't know what a book was, they took chapters by size and said, I am big, I am first.
Right.
You are small, you are last. That's the logic. So they collated a book that doesn't make continuous reading even understandable. And the answer is, you're not good enough to understand it. I shall teach you. I am very ugly. I don't have a mustache. I have a long beard, and I have a frock that I wear. Look at me. You are too good looking to be a good Muslim. So that ugly guy will then teach me how to be an idiot. The first word of the Quran is read. You open any Quran, and if you can find that word as the first word, what does it say? The book says, read in the name of the Lord who created you from a clot of blood.
Right.
It doesn't say, pray to me because I am the king. No.
Right.
It doesn't come to that. He's saying, for heaven's sake, you idiots, try to read, because there was no ink, there was no paper, there was no cardboard, there was no river, there was no rain, there was no lake, there was nothing there except sand. So Muhammad tells them, for heaven's sake, start reading, right? They
Right.
say, that word is very bad. I will put it at the end of the book.
Right.
They
So
can't argue this out.
so the accounts in the Quran, do you think these are literal accounts of things that actually occurred, or do you think they are just like parable and myth?
Oh, they could be real, but it is a job as a Muslim to say they don't apply.
Right.
Look, the Quran explicitly allows a Muslim man to have, it says, take one wife, 2, 3, 4, right?
Right.
And what your right hand possesses, which is concubines. So sexual slavery is permitted. Sex with women against their wishes permitted. Okay? There are words attributed to Prophet Muhammad that in hell, wherever he looked, there were only women. Most of the residents of hell will be women. So therefore, women can't be heads of state. And it took Benazir Bhutto to get elected in Pakistan. It took 1400 years for a woman to get. I don't have time to wait that long.
Yeah.
My daughter is as good as anyone's son to discuss an idea.
Right.
But you cannot make women as receptacles, women who can be traded.
Yeah.
So we have all walked away from that. The Quran accepts slavery, but we have walked away from that.
Yeah.
The point is, what you give up and what you retain doesn't make you what they say, Mr. Fatah, you are like going in a shopping market, choosing and picking. Yes, of course.
Cherry picking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of course, cherry picking. Why not? I'm going cherry picking. I'll pick cherries. What is that? You don't have a mango picking thing going on over there.
Yeah.
This is madness. We need to be intelligent because somebody's given us a brain. And all we rely on is, well, this is polite discussion. I won't go there. But there is no compromise in buying women in India for $5,000 who are 13-year-old. We have rejected child marriage, right? We have rejected so much. I mean, we have not had our Martin Luther. That's my point. We have not had our Talmud from a Jewish construct, rabbis thinking, not the word of God, even if that is to be believed or not. Right. But there have been stages in which people have moved from one. So you have Jews who are ultra-Orthodox. There are Jews who are progressive. The Jews who are secular. But the Jews are a people. Muslims are not a people. Muslims are many peoples linked up with one supposed true path, which is the end of all things that can come from God.
Right. And when you say God, what do you mean by that?
I mean, whatever created the Big Bang could be God.
Right. So you use it as kind of a base term. The originator. The originator.
The origin, our origin, our the air we breathe, the water we drink,
Okay.
how we think, what is thought, what is anger, what is joy, what is laughter. These are not physical things that are happening, but somehow we possess the ability that the animal world does not have. We don't have lizards going out on a prom,
Yeah.
or dressed up. No, come on,
No,
man, you're naked.
they just get right down to business. No prom, no bouquet
No,
required.
when I was a kid, I used to say, why do Tom and Jerry not wear pants or shorts? I will look up, they're going stark naked, but they've got a necktie on. What's with that?
You were a rational young man.
I said, why is he wearing a tie when he doesn't have his pants or his shirt? And that was Mickey Mouse, not Mickey Mouse. Tom and Jerry is what I used to worry about.
Yeah.
But the ideal thing is in Islam is the essence of it is self-respect and charity and social justice.
Right.
And we have lost that because, you must have heard about the philosopher Averroes, who brought back Aristotelian thought into Andalusian Spain in the 12th, 13th century. Was it 11th century? They even burnt his books in the place where the most rational Muslims ever ruled, which is Spain, Andalusian area. They chased him out. He had to take refuge in Egypt, and his books were burnt by the supposed caliph.
Right.
So we've had these Osama bin Ladens and these zealots for 1,400 years.
I was going to ask, why do we see more violent Muslim extremists than we do, let's say, Christian extremists in modern day? Do you think the financial disparity from country to country has something to do with that?
No. I've never ever seen a peasant or an ordinary working class guy desire death.
Yeah.
The Muslim who is out there, in your corner store, your Uber driver, or they are not interested in carrying out terrorist attack. Who is interested?
Yeah.
The most educated. It is Major Nadir. What was it, Colonel Nadir or Major Nadir, who attacked the American forces? The California couple, the New York, everyone's educated. And this Malala, who's the Pakistani Greta, saying, give me a book, give me a book. Every time somebody gets a book, he goes crazy. Every time they're illiterate, they're peaceful. I'm not saying celebrate illiteracy. I'm saying that this formula that is being offered, that if only they were educated. Believe me, Iran is the most educated country in the Muslim world. More books get translated into Persian than in any language.
Yeah.
An Iranian has read everything in Persian, but from Aristotle to the Romans to the Christian books, everything is read in there. The base is Zoroastrianism. But factory produced, made to order terrorists are coming from there, wanting to, I shall destroy Israel. Why? What has Israel done to you? Why are you? Because the Shia Muslims, you won't know, are not recognized as Muslims.
Right.
My type of Muslims say that the Shia are agents of the Jews.
Interesting.
So, I'm married to one of them. So I know. Late at night we meet. Shia calling Jews. Do you get me? But I have been asked why I married a Shia. Because, brother, they are Jews. I said, you see, I'm waiting for the Jewish money at the end of the tunnel. I can see light, dollars coming. Yes, screwed up. The more educated, the more stupid they are. So there's something else. I don't know what's needed. But for heaven's sake, this notion that if you get educated, you'll be better off has not worked in Pakistan. The worst mad country on earth. Do you know there are pilots who are not licensed? Did you read the story?
What? Say that again?
30% of Pakistan's pilots
Oh.
are on fake licenses.
Yes. So a friend of mine from Pakistan told me that.
Yeah, no, this is not the best story. The next best is the Minister of Culture comes on TV and says, what is this? Cupid 19? What?
COVID-19. Cupid.
COVID-19 is a 19-step way to eliminate coronavirus. So we are working through step 1, step 2, 3, 4, but I'll let you know. She tells the host, I'll let you know what step we have completed because there are 19 steps to fight. So that was a Freudian slip, but I'm sure she was enamored by the host.
Yeah.
And the minister said, well, I'm a minister. I'm educated in America, so I've come back to serve my country.
Yeah.
Oh, dumb idiots. Where do we get these people from?
Yeah.
These are the educated. And
Yeah.
the prime minister, by the way, every morning gets up and submits and worships his wife, who is in a complete cloak that no one has seen her. This is his third wife.
Right.
He literally prays to her to guide him. And this is a guy who is Oxford educated.
Right.
He's got to, this is the best. We play cricket, we beat India, everything's hunky-dory.
Yeah.
And he goes from Goldsmith, first marriage, to Rahim Khan, a Pakistani broadcaster, a UK broadcaster, to this woman who nobody has seen. And this is a country that's a nuclear power. And Trump says, it's okay. We want to hold on to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're bribing themselves way to the members of Congress. Everywhere, gifts. Brother, I will give you very big gift.
Yeah.
It's terrible what's happening. But Americans are not understanding the danger of not coming out 100% behind India to fight both China and the Pakistani idiots. The Chinese know what they're doing. They are experimenting their medicines or vaccines not on Chinese. They've asked Pakistanis to volunteer. And the Pakistanis have volunteered by saying, we are so lucky China has asked us to be the guinea pigs.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think when you talk about the educated falling into some of these delusional lines of thinking, I think to me, my answer always goes back to skepticism. Like, I would like to see in the education system where they are quote unquote educating people so well. It's like how much are they teaching just what to think as opposed to how to think? I think it's a failure of Western education and a failure of education all around the world where so many people grow up not thinking correctly, and it just shows itself on social media. You need only scan social media for a few minutes to see how improper people are applying their cognitive abilities to issues, just general issues.
You had asked a question, which I, in my rabble, I forgot to answer, is why are Muslims in this day and age so extremist compared to Christians? The reason is that Muslims believe that life begins after death. That earth is merely a transit lounge. We all eagerly await dying.
Yeah.
That is why when a suicide bomber dies, the mother celebrates.
Yeah.
A phenomena that you will not be able to explain anywhere. I can understand the anger or the social problems that exist in those countries, but the ease with which they are offering themselves to die is a frightening concept, because I've never met a poor guy, uneducated, who said, I want to be a suicide bomber. I've met people and I've talked to them who said, I would give my life anytime, because what is this life?
Right.
I want to go to paradise.
Right.
And it's not just the virgins thereafter. It is, they also say there will be rivers of milk and honey. So I asked this fellow, I said, do you know what it is to dip into honey? Oh, that's icky stuff, man. Why are you telling me there's rivers of honey?
It's
Just
sticky.
wade into
It's hard to get off.
It's hard to get off, and they're licking each other. There's nothing. There's no soap in paradise. There's no shower over there. What are you going to rub it on me?
Yeah.
I mean, but these are educated people who believe that there is money. By the way, in the 12th, 13th century, the Ismailis had created an artificial paradise in Central Asia, and they would pick up a kid. By kid, I mean a teenager, drug him, first tell him what heaven will be like, and then drug him and take him to that valley and get him up, and he would see, and he would genuinely believe that this is paradise. There would be women all over him, and then he'd go back to sleep, and they would wake him up, and he would tell them that he had a journey to paradise. This is where the Hashashin came from, the assassins. The word is from Hashashin. So they would give a hash to the guy. He is in 10th heaven, I suppose, and he would then prolong this and want to go back to that one night and give his life for it. Hence the assassins. And we have not yet taken this seriously, that if Jim Jones in Guyana had 1 billion followers and nobody took him out, we would have a problem, at least in Latin America, if nowhere else. People willing to die.
Yeah.
And beating yourselves up, blooding yourselves up. I mean, there's a huge mountain to climb, and nobody's taking the first step.
Yeah. You there's a new book you're working on, I heard from one of your fans. And
The Hindu is not my enemy.
The Hindu is not my enemy. Yes.
Yes.
And one of our fans, one of your fans, Maz, wanted to know when it's coming out.
Oh my God! Don't tell me. My publisher, my publisher might be listening. I fell ill for a long time. So I had my second cancer, and then I'm still trying to fully be able to walk.
Yeah.
But it's there, and it will just erupt. I've done 2 chapters. I need to, but so much has happened within India in the last 1 year, which is, well, it's good that I didn't write it earlier, because it tells you how hatred of Hindus has become endemic into the soul of the Muslim. And it's not the Arabs or the Turks or the Indonesians or anyone else. It's just the Muslim of the subcontinent. And the reason is that there is a doctrine in Islam which just the Pakistanis or the Indian Muslims know about, which is propagated and spread. And it is Ghazwa Hind, which means the Prophet's war on India. And it says that the Prophet said that even though I won't be there, but you can name this war as if I'm there, so that India is wiped out of all non-Muslims, all temples are destroyed, all Hindus are converted to Islam. And it's only after this is done, and Europe has been conquered by another branch of the Muslims, the Messiah will come, that the end of times will start. So the Indian Muslim, in particular, by Indian Muslim I mean the subcontinent Muslim, is affected by that teaching, which the mullah is saying every Friday in the congregation, and the prayer says, "Oh God, oh Allah, give me as a Muslim victory over those kafirs," which is a derogatory word to non-Muslims, to infidels. And it is tax funded and preyed upon every mosque of America as well. But who's going to bell the cat?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to touch this issue, because in the Indian Constitution, there's Article 25 that protects everyone's religion. And my point is, fine, but don't subsidize it.
Right.
Let's debate this issue. You're praying for the defeat of the infidel, which is 80% of India's population.
Yeah. And we have enemies of free speech all around the world who don't want to see these conversations happening.
No, my goodness. I've never voted right of center in my life, and yet I'm being told by people, "You right-wing scum."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what is right-wing? I never said anything.
Yeah.
That these are the people who butchered everyone, the Taliban supporters. You are the guys. I'm fighting them.
Yeah.
The ultra-right today is Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Taliban, Jamaat-e-Islami, Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
There is no question about it. Even the worst right-wing non-Muslim would fit in where? He wouldn't be able to win a city council seat, right? But these fellows who are in the United States, in Canada, they sit in parliament. Nobody can object, raise a finger. No newspaper will print a column. Thank God that I've been writing in the Sun. Thank God for the Sun. Otherwise, this perspective would never find the light of day. Because everyone is scared. Everyone's scared. The current joke is, if in Toronto you're speeding and the policeman stops you, you know how to get away? You just roll down the window and say, "Assalamu alaikum." The cop is shit scared. Oh my God, I'll be accused of racism. There is a Muslim phobia. He said, "Okay, get along, dash along. Next time, don't do that." But it's a joke, but imagine.
Yeah.
You're a white cop, somebody stops you and says, "Assalamu alaikum." Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's scared.
Yeah.
What if I arrest him and he says, "I've been arrested because I'm a Muslim"?
Yeah. And these guys are put on, if anything like this happens, these officers are immediately put on leave.
Oh my God.
Immediately, until anything's even discovered. Like, it's just...
By the way,
yeah.
The death threats that I've received, this is how far the penetration goes. Cops came over. Canadian cops are tops, honest to God. They are wonderful people. I know some of them. But they came over first time in hospital while I was immovable. I had, below my waist, there was no movement.
Yeah.
And somebody tweeted that, "We know where you are. We'll come and get you."
Yeah.
And so it was reported to the police. The police officers came and talked and took everything. Then suddenly I saw a policeman of Pakistani origin who was in the intelligence, who was their boss, who canceled the report. So what are you going to do? Our top CIA, or equivalent to the CIA or the FBI, the CSIS we call it, intelligence agency, the spokesperson is of Pakistani origin. Do you think I have any place to go? They've already, every high school has a mosque. Now, the point of the Muslim Brotherhood organization is, we've got to pray. They're lying. They can always go home and pray. This is a big lie that you are supposed to pray at this particular time. No. You can pray all your 5 prayers once you come home and do with it. It's called Qaza prayers. That means postponed prayers.
Yeah.
But they are taking over cafeterias to run mosques and then invite outside speakers. And women at the back, we still have a picture of a friend of mine, women at the back, men in the front, and in the last row were women who were having the periods.
Jesus.
They were identified and said, okay, sister, we are having this crazy thing that women do. Sit at the back. They sat at the back. They could have been out of the room.
The bloodline.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh, please, Lord, have mercy on us. I mean, we are the Muslims who say, oh, we get targeted so often. I mean, is there anything right you do? Why do your men walk around wearing frocks? Have you seen those long white and there's a tiny pajama coming beneath it?
Yeah.
They're walking around as if they're Arabs, and you find out the guy's from Bangladesh. It doesn't mix and match, for heaven's sake. I've never seen an Arab walk like that in Toronto.
So,
but the Pakistani does it.
Yeah, going back to the question I asked you right off the bat, what pisses you off most about humanity? It seems to be fashion.
No. I love fashion. I mean, in my university days, oh my God, I was a fashion freak.
Tarek, it has been a pleasure having you on. I want to bring you on more if you're interested in having more conversations.
Anytime.
I'd love to get you out to a live event one of these days when you're feeling better.
My God, no.
Have a conversation.
You allow brickbats to come over there. You can stone Tarek Fatah in the daylight 7 times and then circle him.
We'll bring the Canadian Army.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. That's been Tarek Fatah. What an awesome guy. That was a great chat. I really enjoyed that. What did you guys think of the conversation? We'll do a bit of an after show here. I'll put on a little music. Everyone can get a drink, and then I'll open up our group chat option so you guys can jump on the chat with me live on the air, and we can have a conversation. I guess I'll give that a good rating. The app worked good. Now I just have to go over here, hide that. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. If you guys are new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Obviously, you can find Pangburn on every social media outlet. Just search at the Pangburn, or on Facebook at Pangburn Inspire is our main page. But yeah, let me. I'm gonna put on some. I'm gonna put on some of my music actually. If you guys are interested in hearing some of my original music, I'll put the link in the chat.
An event in the heart of Delhi, only because
that was not supposed to come on. Yeah, Jack Cervantes. Don't worry about it. This will be produced on the channel very shortly. But if you guys want to check out my music channel, I just put the link in the chat. We're going to have a post-show discussion here. You guys will be able to jump on StreamYard with me, which will be fun. I'll give you guys the StreamYard link where you will be able to chat with me and up to a group of 6 of us. So if you're interested, use this link, StreamYard, to get into the room and just hang tight. I will be open to have a conversation with you guys. We should chat a bit about the conversation you guys heard, the podcast about Tarek. I'm just going to make sure I say thanks and make sure he shares. I'll share it. All right, quick break here, and I'll be right back. What should I leave you guys with? Yeah, let's do this. Closing sale, everything must go, nothing left behind, no wild oats to sow. It's out of my way, I'm done now, you see. You took the meat, but not my bones. Now throw away your key. 1 foot out the door, persistent. You are frozen in time. Oh, I love you slips out of my mind. So sail, set sail, a little bird. Just go and set sail. Set sail, set sail, a little bird. Just go and set sail. I'll take my ship away as the storm rolls in. I hope the wind is with me, and I hope you've learned that the pirate within me is sworn to the truth, to live or die by this rule. Something old and something new is the treasure within me. As sad as it seems, you will come to know what it all means to me. Set sail, little bird. Just go and set sail. Set sail, set sail, little bird. You just go now and set sail. Some pictures and some memories. All right, guys, we are back. I hope you had enough time to pee. Or just go in your pants. All right, yeah, if you guys want to engage in the chat, we got Maz back in the room. Let's add Maz to stream. How's it going, Maz? Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Oh, I think your mic isn't on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cool.
Answered. He answered all my questions.
Awesome. Right on. That's good. I'm just gonna see if anyone else wants to join. You guys can join Maz and I in this chat. All you have to do, join us live in the chat here. Join up. Have your voice heard. This is the post show where anything is possible. What did you pick up anything new about Tarek that you thought was interesting?
I was I was feeling kind of like this regret that why didn't I ask this question, that what went on with Malala and his team, like he had this team where he congregated thinkers from Canada, celebrities, writers, and politicians, and they created this momentum which ended up pushing Malala towards that Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
And then after she got the prize, I was thinking about like Tarek would be there, like the pointsman to project her in Canada and elsewhere, but that never happened. And I even read the book. He named me Malala, and I see nowhere his contribution or like Canadians per se, like how they helped her.
So she didn't mention any of that?
No, she
Oh, wow.
didn't acknowledge anything. And not just Tarek, but there were many Canadians who were like they put their might behind her right after she got shot, all the way through when she won the prize. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, how's it going?
Wow. Yeah. No, it's that's a little weird that she wouldn't mention any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That would have been.
I wonder. Yeah.
Well, maybe next time I have him on, we'll make sure we get that question in, because it sounds like an important one. I mean, we're talking about the big prize here.
Yeah.
I'll see if
Sorry.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to jump in the room here, guys, with Jack, Maz, and myself, the link is in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah, what'd you think, Jack? Did you catch the talk?
I caught the tail end of it. I was just was it I don't know. I honestly didn't get enough of it. I got there like literally at the very last minute. You were saying your goodbyes and like wrapping everything up when I got in.
That's all
I
right.
was so mad. I was like, oh no.
Not everyone can be a super fan like Maz.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
That stings.
It actually hurts me.
It does slightly.
Yeah.
I may cry. No,
yeah, it was interesting how being a secular Muslim, Tarek still, uses the God term, and I wasn't going to get into the semantics too much about like, to use the term God to describe what you're talking about. It's like there already are words to describe those other things. Like it's like, why call the Big Bang God? Oh, I'm hearing a bit of my echo on one of your guys' feeds.
All right, let me pull back. 548. There we go.
Or maybe I'm hearing someone else. Oh, I think I was just hearing someone talk in the background, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was it.
35. 34.
Hearing someone say 35, 34. Someone's playing bingo.
I actually, that kind of sounds like what's going on.
548.
Kalua Ventura DeSantis in the chat says, Travis is a religious atheist. What is a religious atheist, Kalua? Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. He obviously is. He does seem to care a lot about Islam and kind of all of the issues pertaining to it, and also wants to reform Islam. He has these big ideas about wanting to reform it, and then he also identifies all of the barbarism and nastiness that exists in the Quran. So he is kind of the ultimate secular Muslim, I think.
So I came to know about this Pakistani guy, Mazid Nawaz. I think.
Yeah, I know. I know Majid. I've had him at some of my events.
Okay, so I think he and Tarek are coming up with a version of Quran that is the first version is all about having all the verses of the Quran in proper sequence. That the thing he was talking about, the largest one at the beginning and
Right.
the smallest of it at the end, and they have reversed it, and that's how they have printed the Quran, the present most accepted version of it.
Right.
So they both are working on a version of Quran that has have every verses in sequence. At least that's what I've heard, and I have followed him, both him and Mazid.
Right.
And then I also follow this guy called Imam Tawhidi. He's from
Yep.
Australia.
Yeah,
Imam of Peace.
Yeah, I've spoken with Imam.
Yeah. So I think they have a take on this, how this should be, because you have to tiptoe around all these places, because even if they print out this book, they're just gonna burn it, like how he said, like after the Quran was came in its form, 300 copies were burned, and then they came up with a version that was more suitable to their time. So I'm just curious, like when are these two books are coming out, this Quran and the other book?
Yeah, the reformed Quran, and what kind of outrage is that going to cause within the radical Islamist community?
Oh God, I think his head is gonna fly.
Well, I mean, see, I get death threat emails and messages all the time from like the radical Islamists, and it's like if someone was actually going to do something, it's like when it comes to threats, it's like they are not going to send a message first and tell you about it.
Well, no, that ruins the entire point of doing that.
Exactly.
I want you to prepare for me to come to attack you.
On September 10th, 2021, I'm going to be at the McDonald's that you frequently go to.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of like people on the other side of the world make these threats, and when you look into where these emails have originated from and things, they come from the Middle East often.
Mm.
And then sometimes they're just actually just trolls who just like copy and paste
Yeah.
text into Google Translate and have it create Arabic
Yeah.
text and then put that in the, and then I send it to some of my friends who actually speak Arabic and read Arabic, and then they look at it and they're
It
like,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, they're like, someone just put this in Google Translate.
Yeah.
Kalua Ventura DeSantis says, "You are religious about your devotion to atheism. You subscribe entirely to it, and nothing can touch it. Quite the ideology." Well, it's not an ideology because there's no
That's
tenets, there's no dogma,
It
there's
does.
nothing to it. It doesn't tell you.
It's a declaration of a position. You
The
believe in something, and I don't.
The only the only thing it tells you about a person is that they reject any claims that gods exist because just due to lack of evidence. That's all. And then Uday says, "I don't think Tarek is too interested in science versus religion. He is more about political impact of religion, quote, mainly Islam, and he is genuinely worried about Islamism infiltrating into the West." Yeah, I mean, I think that part is a bit on Tarek's side is a little bit evangelical, like kind of like we don't know how bad this can get. I mean, if I'm to really go after Tarek on that and say, well, let's see your evidence, and if he's to say, well, they're allowing time for Muslim students in high school to pray, I'm like, I don't look at that as an invasion of Islamism. Obviously, if you start bringing over ideas where in certain parts of your country, someone can invoke Sharia law on another, then obviously then you have more to point at to say, oh, look what's going on over there. But yeah, I in the West, maybe you could make some arguments. Some places overseas, in England, in London, there's small pockets of where groups have tried to invoke Sharia law and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that stuff is stomped out pretty quickly if it is at all violent and outside of everyone's ability to practice whatever religion they so choose. Which I think everyone should have the right to do that.
Yeah. See, one of the only things that I know about the Sharia law aspect of things is all the sensationalized versions of it. I don't know exactly what is sensationalized by the media and what is accurate on that, because it gets very, very misconstrued and twisted up. I've heard things as far as the homophobia problem is so great that they throw people off of buildings for being homosexual in certain areas.
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia that does happen.
Is it which makes sense why a lot of people would be hesitant, especially with the progression that we've got going on in the West, against like just moving so far past, like we finally completely legalized it 100% in the United States, and we're just like moving on past all that on the Western front, and then to see that somebody, well, that wasn't supposed to happen, to see somebody that one second, see something that's supposed to be so progressive, and before that actually threw me off so bad that the light went out. Go ahead. I was not expecting it at all. It totally cut my train of thought.
Ghost.
No, it's just a really, really low timed motion sensor light.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's I know, like there's this thing where Snopes goes through Sharia law and tries to add some reality to what we're talking about. Actually, this is interesting. This is an interesting read. I'll put it in the chat for everyone.
Okay.
It's actually an interesting resource, and people should tell me how accurate this is. Uday says at Pangburn, infiltration starts slow, Travis. It is subtle, not an exaggeration. The first thing that gets affected is freedom of speech to offend religion. Okay, well, that hasn't happened yet. Yeah. Viplovster007 says, I do not think you understand what Tarek said, that if you allow Muslim kids to pray during school hours, why do you not have for Hindu or Jewish or Christian students to do the same? Yeah, well, if you're obviously there's an easy eradication of that argument to say that, well, everyone should have equal opportunity. If one group's going to get this, the Satanists need to be given their thing. The flying spaghetti monster religious followers need to be given theirs. Everyone needs, the Rastafarians. Everyone who has their own whatever religious belief that they decide to even create that day. They if they're going to have this during school hours, they got to make it all inclusive, right? And I agree that it shouldn't just, and I don't know that Viplovster, I don't know that that is happening, and they say that only Muslims can engage in this right now. I mean, and if that is happening, that ought not to happen. So,
I know that I know in the case of at least here in the United States, a lot of people get confused with especially the very religious, get confused with the separation of church and state when it comes to schools and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's not that you're not allowed to go form a group to go pray, even as a club. You can go do that. There's no. I think people get confused. It's like, oh no, you can't do any of that in school. That's not what it's just not faculty led prayer. It's not mandatory set of any specific religion's doctrine at all.
Right.
So I think people get a little confused with that sometimes.
Yeah. No, I agree. People, it's again, skepticism is the issue there. When people hear something that sounds like someone saying, your religion's no longer welcome. And then when really what they're saying is that, we're not going to do this as part of a thing because not everyone's religious, and we're just not going to make it a mandatory assembly thing anymore because we just are kind of assuming that everyone is Christian or whatever. And we shouldn't do that. And and I agree. You need to pick your poison. You're either going to let everyone do it, like you're going to allow the Satanists to put up a Satan statue at the 9/11 memorial to worship Satan, to be able to do that, or you're not going to put up Christian symbols because there were a lot of secular people who died at the 9/11 grounds. There was Muslims, there was Hindus, there's all kinds of people. So you need to pick your poison. You do one or you don't do it at all, or else you're just picking favorite ideologies as a government body.
But my disagreement with this whole thing about prayers in schools is like what content and what's the words of the prayers that you are preaching to the kids, if you are doing it via loudspeakers. If you are in a country where you see every religion as equal, there is no point or any thread of encouragement to a religion which says my religion is the greatest and his messenger from this God is the greatest. So it's kind of
well, I mean, I think that's I think that happens. I think that happens. That'll happen regardless. It's you can't have. I don't even think you can have like, at least on a base level, two very religious people of like strict faith, be okay with the other being like, oh yeah, well, I believe in, Zeus and Poseidon and Hades. And, you have anybody of any other faith just like, well, that's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
In any other context, even if giving everybody the ability to speak freely is really important. But I do see where you're going with it in the sense that they probably do need to be checked out so that they're not dangerous, or they're not like, somebody creates a religion and it's like, oh, this religion is to, get back at all the people that were mean to me.
Yeah. Well, I think in what Maz is saying as well, there needs to be like if with violent religions such as Islam and Christianity, there are some tenets that could be read that like we ought to stone homosexuals to death,
right?
Or Exodus 21, the complete promotion of slavery and these things like over the school loudspeaker. You don't want to hear if you are an infidel, you ought to be put to death from the Quran. So it's like inevitably you are going to have some rules that may affect one religion more than the other. But basically, if you say, okay, we have a policy that even if it's part of whatever religion you choose, we don't allow the promotion of violence, let's say, in the school. And then some people will say, oh, I don't think it's violent to spread the truth that homosexuality is a sin. And then you get into those debates, and you can have those debates. But then someone would have to demonstrate, how that is violent. And then you start going down this road, and then you start realizing, you know what? All of these, any kind of rule we put to this is not going to work out, because not every religion is equally non-violent or violent as the other. Some are more violent than the other, and some are going to feel more persecuted under these social laws or rules than others, because they can't say exactly what they want to be saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, I think I'm going to cut it there. Thanks for jumping on quickly for this. And I think we're at about a 3-hour stream here. So yeah, it was a good show, and thank you guys for contributing. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Love coming on here. Love talking to you guys.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
It was great.
Nice to Maz and Jack. See you next time. We'll be live again on Tuesday, probably around the same time. And yeah, I haven't decided what we're going to talk about yet. Possibly Antifa. So.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I hope
get my notebook out.
I hope that we can hit up social media and try to get some Antifa members in the room here. That would be great.
Ooh. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
I think they will be busy rioting, so I don't.
Yeah, they shouldn't be available. That's for sure. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
All right, that was Maz and Jack. And thank you guys so much for tuning in for the show. It was a great show tonight. I really enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, and as always, please subscribe, hit the like button on this stream, and let art and science inspire. Good night, everyone.